yours this morning, please.
Short.
I'll be brief. I've been warned on numerous occasions. I just wanted to tell you, I wanted to thank everyone for their outcome today, and really I'm excited about things that are happening here moving forward in Susquehanna County. I just wanted to make sure of a few things that you're aware of, things you have. A newsletter kind of gives you an update on some of the major projects that we're working on. But once again, I see a lot of things, bright things on the horizon, and some things that have happened. We've had things that are in completion, that are underway in the planning stages, and that are on the horizon for Susquehanna County to try to create more investment and opportunities for its citizens. Obviously, I saw Ray and Ruth here. I just want to congratulate them once again on the Endless Mountains project. I don't think there's been I can give you an example of a greater community project than the Endless Mountains Health System in the new hospital. Just the leverage, Ray's great way of twisting arms and people not even knowing it's happening to them, and again, the blend of both public-private efforts has been, I think, a true need for the community. I saw Mike German and Joe Marabito here. They're on their way to discuss with the hospital gas service right now. They need it very quickly, but they were here, and Leatherstocking has broken some major ground in our area and is now bringing distribution into the area. Again, value-added utilization of natural gas is very critical. We need to add value to this gas before it leaves our area, and distributing it throughout the county and utilizing it in a number of different ways is really the key to it. I got to take a quick second and tell you a story. Last Friday, I was fortunate to join two county commissioners to go to meet with Governor Corbett. And in that meeting, I was asked to discuss some economic development projects that we have in our area. We had a half hour with them. I presented in the newsletter that you have, and I pointed to the front of the newsletter and showed him Leatherstocking's groundbreaking, and told him about the irony here. You've got some of the most prolific wells in the entire United States, and yet it wasn't accessible by its citizens. And he stopped for a second. He goes, "Yeah, it is a total irony." And I said, "Yes." So he's very much aware of it. It was delivered to him. I thought if Kim Barnes was here, I'd embarrass her, because if you look at the page, she's shaking the governor's hand at the awards a while ago. Cabot, with their new CNG station, which was just unveiled last week, is a huge step in the right direction as far as utilizing compressed natural gas for vehicle utilization. Again, for the first time. One of the interesting factors to that is obviously they had it located near a pipeline facility, a transfer station location, simply because distribution is also limited in the area. So as distribution increases, we could have more use of clean CNG in our area. So again, hats off to them for that major investment. We know what it takes to get something like that done. We've made some headway on the Bendix site. As you know, it's been tied up for many, many years, more years than most people want to talk about. But we were able to get in contact with Honeywell. Honeywell representatives were here from California and Philadelphia. They're working towards trying to find an adaptive reuse of that site. And again, as you know, the buildings have been raised on that site, and they're looking towards getting the covenants that they need to put it back into use, which we're excited about. Another recent development was that through our legislators, we were able to secure 3 capital budget allocations. Typically, a capital budget is the governor's budget, has to be a piece of legislation. The projects have to actually be named in the legislation, and then you have to put the gloves on as you get those projects closer to fruition, so to speak, or putting a shovel in the ground, then you would apply for them. But if they're not in the legislation, they don't have a chance. And these are capital pieces. We did get a small $4 million piece for the hospital, which is a good, well-used allocation. It's typically for bricks and mortar. We've got $500,000 for the South Montrose Waterline project, which we're trying to assemble some other funding sources through our organization and through the Northern Tier with the ARC program. We also had $2 million identified for industrial park in the county, hopefully along with the ID1 corridor. And we are initiating an industrial park study through the county commissioners as an idea that they want to see something that's shovel-ready, so to speak, that has infrastructure that we can encourage investment and job creation on. And then we we'll do anything. But there was through Senator Baker's office, there was $1 million set aside for Camp Archibald, which is a Girl Scout camp that is needs a renovation. And we've done quite a few different projects over the years, but this is one that they're looking at trying to use it as a multi-use facility. Today, in today's world, you have to kind of look at things and find ways to get creative and to support your core mission. And this is one way that they're trying to do it, bring corporate retreats in and do that kind of thing. So again, we're excited about that. We have initiated a housing study in the county to determine the types of housing that are needed here because of impacts most recently, and our commissioners are utilizing some of their Act 13 money to do that, to really look at the detail for market rate housing and where infrastructure may need to be extended and how we might be able to do that. And again, we also are receiving lots of interest for small scale energy generation. We're talking 15 to 20 megawatt facilities that they're looking at in the county because of the low cost resources in the area. And again, that's a huge value added effort, adding value to it, and also benefiting the citizens of Susquehanna County. So I won't take too much more time. I want to we want to get to the Congressman, but I thank you for the service, and we remain committed. And if you have any questions, I'll be around for as long as you'd like. Thanks a lot.
That was 32 seconds longer than you were allowed. And I will ask that if there is time for comments at the end of Tom's presentation, they've got to be short, concise, because we do have the clock back there says 8:30, Tom. We stopped it on purpose, but really our timing is rather short. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Good morning, everybody. And I'm Alan Hall, County Commissioner, and I'm here today to present the first award. This award is from the Susquehanna County Economic Development Board, and this is for the 2013 Citizens of the Year. And this year the award goes to a couple individuals that although I have some write-ups for them, doesn't say enough about what they've done for our community and what they've done for our children in our community. And this award goes to Kirk and Barbara Hinckley, and let me go give you a little bit of history on them. And we'll start with the ladies first, of course. Barbara Austin Hinckley was born in Halstead, PA, graduated Halstead High School in 1952. And for those that you don't know, the school is still there today. It's not being used, but it's still there. So it's still a good landmark for Halstead. She attended the Ridley Business School in Binghamton, New York. She joined IBM in 1953. She married Kirk S. Hinckley Jr. in 1956. She left IBM in 1957 to raise her family. She raised 4 sons and 1 daughter, and I think they're all here today. She became the owner and manager of the Colonial Brick Motel in 1976. She became president of the Colonial Brick Incorporated in 1995 to present. Her community activities included Cub Scout and Girl Scout leader, sang in the choir and led the junior choir of the Halstead Presbyterian Church, 50-year member of the Guild chapter of the Eastern Star and worthy matron, treasurer of the Guild chapter of the Eastern Star, youngest Grand Page in the Eastern Star Grand chapter, treasurer of the Halstead Methodist Church, also member of the Administrative Board and trustee, part of the Methodist Caring Cafe, member and past chairman of Friends of Barnes Quezon, raised over $70,000 for hospital improvements for Barnes Quezon, finance chairman of Friends of Susquehanna County Incorporated, member of the Louise Bach BPW, now Women's Club, board member of the Community Foundation. Kirk Stevens Hinckley Jr. was born in Halstead, PA also. Graduated Halsted High School in 1952. Married Barbara Austin in 1956. Graduated Syracuse University in 1956 with a Bachelor of Science Industrial Engineering degree. Joined IBM Endicott in 1956 as an engineer. Entered management in 1968 as Circuit Packaging Planning Manager. Held many management positions before retiring in 1989 as the Administrative Assistant to the Plant Manager. Became President of the Hinckley Real Estate Incorporated and Halsted Plaza Properties Incorporated in 2000. His community activities included being President of the Halsted Borough from 1960 to 1964, a 50-year member and past master of the Bluestone Masonic Lodge in Halsted, PA, a 32nd degree Mason and Shriner, leader of the Methodist Adult Bible Study for 20 years in Halsted and Great Bend, elder of the Presbyterian Church, member of the IBM Council for Broome County United Way Charity, co-founder of Kirk and Marion Hinckley Scholarship Fund for the Blue Ridge graduates, life member and past president of the Broome County Beagle Club. Now there's a few other things that I haven't talked about with Kirk and Barb. They've always been there for the community. When the Little League lost the field due to a flood, they opened their arms to the organization and allowed them to use their property to put a baseball field on and use until the floods receded. Whenever the triplets needed help, the Hinckley family was there to help out, the local little football team. Whenever any organization needed help in those communities, the Hinckley family has always been there with their arms out to embrace and to help the community. They have touched more kids' lives and more people in that community than anyone else that I know by their generosity and their goodwill. So it is an absolute pleasure for me to stand here today and present you with this plaque as the 2013 Citizens of the Year.
Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Hinckley. Well deserved. I'm here this morning to present an award to a man that's not with us, but his beautiful daughter has joined us. His name is Chauncey Zazera. Zazera's marketed in Forest City. How many people have been to Forest City? How many people don't know where Forest City is? Oh, come on. Well, they usually say you can't get there from here, but I know where Forest City is because I grew up there. Frank A. Chauncey Zazera, owner of Zazera Supermarket in Forest City, comes from a Zazera tradition of the family that feeds Carbondale. That's where they're originally from. Chauncey is known to everyone in northeastern Pennsylvania. He worked in a family food center in Carbondale with his father, Anthony Squeak Zazera. It was 1975 when he and his cousin Larry decided to approach Larry's father, Frank Zazera, with the idea to open a new store in the old A&P building at 600 Main Street in Forest City. The store had been closed for some time, and Frank liked the idea, and he said he would help buy the building with Chauncey and Larry. While maintaining his role at the Carbondale store, Chauncey also took over the task of managing the Forest City location. In 1980, Frank Zazera died and passed the business on to his son, who became general manager in the store. 3 years later, Chauncey bought Larry's half of the Forest City store, making it his own and leaving the Carbondale location in his cousin's hands. Since that time, many improvements and advancements have taken place in the Forest City store. Interior modernizations, including new display cases, new floors, lighting, have taken place on several occasions, keeping it as appealing a market in which to shop. A major improvement that took place in the 80s is when Chauncey bought the old Main Hotel across the street. They had it demolished and turned it into a large, easily navigated parking lot. Over the years, Chauncey took on partners in 2 longtime store employees, Meat Department Manager Bob Black and Grocery Manager Mary Ann Maglio. This year, assisted by Chauncey's daughter, Joy Zazera, the market has converted to scanners for up-to-date checkouts. Major events scheduled several times a year are meat sales and customer appreciation days. Orders are taken prior to the meat sales, and they require the market's meat supplier to buy meat supplies, to bring meat supplies to the stores, and then they park refrigerated trailers right on Main Street, right in front of the establishment. I mean, how hometown can you get? But as hard as Chauncey worked in the store, he works equally as hard as a community supporter. He served for years as a member and officer of the Forest City Commercial Association, leading that organization and many of the business improvement programs for Main Street business community. He also served as a prime supporter and co-chairperson for many years for a 31-year-old annually revamped and named Greater Forest City Business Alliance, while the usual Old Home Week had been scaled back to just 1 day. Chauncey has also been a valuable member of the Greater Forest City Industries in its efforts to attract industry to town. He's also known to be a major benefactor for every fundraising event of any kind in Greater Forest City. His generosity also extends anonymously to many who find themselves on the bottom rung of the economic ladder. And I know for a fact that Chauncey has had food baskets delivered to people that were in hardship times, and I mean, he just has a big heart. It seems Chauncey has no plans to retire despite requiring frequent treatment of foot and ankle problems, obviously compounded by having spent most of his working life on his feet stocking shelves and doing the duties required of any efficient grocer. Through the anchor store of the Zazera Market chain, I was thinking, I know the market in Carbondale was closed. Though the anchor store of the Zazera Market chain has been closed in Carbondale, the Forest City store is still going strong and is looking forward to many years of feeding the Forest City area. And it doesn't just have to feed the Forest City area. You too are invited to visit Main Street in Forest City and shop there. Joy, if you would like to come up here. On behalf of Susquehanna County, the County Commissioners, and the Economic Development Board, we offer this. Okay, please give your dad hugs for me. I'm trying to. And I have to tell you, I've known Chauncey all my life. He's just a great person, and I'm glad that we could offer this to him. I'm just sorry that he couldn't be with us today. And that was for a small business in Susquehanna County. The next award goes to a national business. And this year we did this. We were thinking that we should change it up just a little and give something to someone that has a smaller business that's doing well, and also to a business that is a national chain. And that national chain is McDonald's, and it's Cindy and Doug Latner. Latner Enterprises of Pennsylvania, LLC, is a franchise of the McDonald's USA restaurant system and operates 3 McDonald's restaurants in Susquehanna County. Local owners, Doug and Cindy Latner, reside in the Montrose area and are actively involved in business as well as in the schools and communities that they serve. Where is Doug? Oh, okay. Doug started his career with McDonald's in Ohio in 1978 as a teenager at his first job. Advancing through the ranks to reach his ultimate goal of becoming a McDonald's franchisee, he has received several awards along the way, including the Greater Binghamton Chamber of Commerce Small Business of the Year in 2010. Doug and Cindy opened the Montrose restaurant in June of 1994, and their second location at the Gibson exit of Interstate 81 in December of 2002. In November of 2005, they acquired the Halstead restaurant and 3 of the Binghamton, New York restaurants. Since the acquisitions, they have rebuilt 2 of the Binghamton restaurants and completed major renovations in the Montrose and Halstead restaurants. Lackner Enterprises of Pennsylvania employs approximately 175 full and part-time crew/management/administrative staff, with an annual payroll in excess of $1.9 million. Very good. Doug and Cindy value and support their employees, as well as appreciate the effort they put into providing the McDonald's experience to travelers and residents of the surrounding communities. And I must add also that I know for a fact that Cindy and Doug give back to their community. They have 3 beautiful children who are also, they've been raised to give back to their community also. Cindy's not here today because she happens to be with Ashley over to the Hartford Fair with horses. He has a daughter that is Miss New York Rodeo. Miss Teen Rodeo of New York. And that's like super. Congratulations. Come on up here, Doug.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the recognition. And again, congratulations to all the other award winners. And this is just a wonderful place to do business. When my wife and I came here back in the early 90s with the thought of building a restaurant in this area, it was such a welcoming place that we told McDonald's, yes, this is where we want to come. So we appreciate all the efforts to get one of the McDonald's involved in the area. And we're so happy to allow to expand into other areas and to provide an opportunity for residents and people here to not only earn a living, but have a career and support their families and to grow their career, such as I did, starting out as a crew person a long time ago. So opportunities are endless. Thank you all for everything you do, and thank you, go Susquehanna County.
I will ask that all our award winners today, if after the program, if you could hang around for a few minutes so that we can get a few more pictures, we'd appreciate that. At this time, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, and although I have a 2-page bio for him, he's heard it about 1,000 times at least, and doesn't really need to hear it again. But he is a very hard-working individual, a person that comes from a blue-collar background, has worked his way through life trying to get ahead. And it is with great pleasure that I introduce our U.S. Representative, Tom Marino. Tom.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here. And I do not like to prepare remarks and read. I'm going to just brief you a little bit about where I came from and what is happening in D.C., and then I would like to open it up for a dialogue with you. Questions? I will try to answer them the best that I can. If I do not have an answer, I will get it to you. And some of you may like my answer, and some of you may not like my answer, but we can discuss that at a later time. I ask you to please just bear in mind that there will be others that want to ask questions, or make a statement, or give me advice, or holler at me. Any of the above you can do. Just a brief background about me. I was born in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. My father was a firefighter and a janitor. And my mother worked outside the house occasionally just to help pay the bills, keep a roof over my 2 brothers and sisters' head. I worked in a factory. I started at Stroman's Baking Company when I was 17, and I started sweeping the floors. And I worked my way up into management by the time I was 21 years old, and by the time I was 23 years old, I was a superintendent over several plants. The owner of the company, Harold Stroman, who I loved like a father, in fact he and my father were childhood friends, took me under his wing and sent me to school. And I still am a baker. I still do bake. I'm very good at it, actually. And it's always good to have a second backup. He passed away. The company was sold, and they started getting rid of many senior people that were there that didn't have college degrees, but they knew the trade, and I thought that was a mistake. So I saw the writing on the wall. I went with another company, actually PepsiCo Corporation, Frito-Lay. They started getting into the baking industry, and I was there for about 1.5 years until I was overlooked for a promotion because I did not have a college degree. But they wanted me to train the guy with the college degree coming in. And I said, thank you, no. I left that day very early. I got home and my wife says, you quit. And I says, I did. And she says, well, I'm going to give you 2 options. And we were making plans for me to go to college. He says, you better get to school this semester, and if not, you better find yourself a good divorce attorney because I'm not keeping you for the rest of your life. And so I went to college and law school, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it were not for my beautiful wife. She worked full-time, put me through school, I worked part-time. And I say we graduated from college and law school. It normally takes 7 years. We did it in 5 because that's all we had. We sold our house, we sold our furniture, we cashed in our insurance policies, and I sold my truck. Now, you men particularly will understand this. I sold my truck in the last semester of school. And so my wife, we're switching. She drove a little Chevette one week, and I rode a bike, and then we switched back and forth. But it's the best move. It's the best move we ever had. It wouldn't be for my wife, I wouldn't be here. And this November, we will have been married for 40 years. So she should be in Congress the way she runs a budget. We have 2 children. My children are adopted. And Tuesday, I had a terrible experience. I had to take my daughter to the University of Pittsburgh and leave her there without Dad being there. So, and I have a son that's 14. I was in private practice for a short while. I did most litigation. That's where I cut my teeth on being in a courtroom. But I was an assistant district attorney as well. And I was asked 3 years out of law school to run for the district attorney's position, and I did, and I won. And I was elected 2 times after that without opposition. But in 2002, Senators Rick Santorum asked me if I would, and Arlen Specter, asked me if I would like to be a federal judge. And I said, no. And they sort of looked at me and scratched their heads and said, wait a minute, now do you know this is a lifetime appointment? And it's a prestigious position. And I passed up being judge in the county several times as well. And they said, why? And I said, because I don't like putting up with pain in the ass lawyers all day long. But I said I would like to be the U.S. attorney. And I was U.S. attorney with the Bush administration until about 2008, where I went into corporate law for 2 years and then decided to run for Congress. I see one of my assistants that I hired, Mr. Todd Hinckley, is out there, and Todd came with me when? Todd, help me out. 2002. Is that it? 2000? It's been that long. Oh my gosh. And he's an excellent prosecutor. In fact, he did a tour in Iraq. So, you have a hero right here as well. I can remember when we decided to run for Congress. It was 2009, Thanksgiving Eve. And I'm flipping through the channels, listening to Fox, CNN, CNBC. I want to hear all angles. And my wife said to me, look, I'm tired of you screaming at the television. I'm tired of you throwing things at it. Why don't you run for Congress? And so I did. We won. We won a second term. And it's been let's say, an extraordinary experience. It is very frustrating. We have incredible issues before us. We have a $17 trillion debt that is growing in leaps and bounds. We have 11 million illegal immigrants here that we have to decide on how to handle that situation. We have agencies and departments that are out of control, getting into our private lives and doing things that I think are criminal. And we are not able to communicate because it is so divided in Washington that we newer members, including my Democrat colleagues, find it very difficult to do business. And I want to say up front, okay, I'm a diehard Republican, I'm a fiscal conservative. My last year of law school, I had the opportunity of studying overseas as a teaching assistant, so that helped pay my way. And my background over there was international finance and geopolitics, emphasizing more so on China and the Middle East. I'm on 3 committees in D.C., Judiciary, Homeland Security, and Foreign Affairs, and I chair the Intellectual Property Subcommittee on Judiciary, which is a big deal today because people are stealing our intellectual property ideas, whether it's our computer ideas, our software, or our music. So that's a hot topic also. So unfortunately in DC you have to be a jack of all trades, and sometimes it suffers. You can't be a master of all of them. In addition to the immigration, we have problems. We have tax issues, IRS, we have Benghazi, we have Fast and Furious, we have the NSA issues. It's just all piling up. And I have dropped several pieces of legislation. I will continue to drop them. And I think that 3 pieces of legislation have to be signed, get to the floor, voted on, and signed before we can change anything in D.C. The first thing is we need term limits. We need term limits in D.C. The framers of the Constitution never envisioned going to Philadelphia on a full-time basis. They were businessmen, entrepreneurs, farmers. They went to Philadelphia a couple of months a year and went back to their districts and represented their people and ran their businesses. It's too much now of a full-time job. It's too much of a career, and it's not designed, in my opinion, to be that way. I dropped the legislation last year, and I dropped it again this year for term limits. I think 12 years and you're out. The president can serve 2 terms or 10 years if there's a death of the previous president. Our governor serves 2 terms. Many states have governors that serve 8 years, and there are several states out there that even limit the state elected officials. Now, I'm not addressing the state. I think that's up to the people of the state to make that determination. But we have just too many people that I think have lost touch with their district and with reality and build such a power base. And this isn't a Republican-Democrat thing, ladies and gentlemen. We have been in debt for 50 years. It just didn't happen last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. For the last 50 years, we have spent more money than we have brought in this country. So there's enough blame to go around to all the Democrat presidents and all the Republican presidents and all the Democrat leaders in the House and Senate and all the Republican leaders in the House and Senate. And I say this from the heart. Every president that's living today, every leader in both chambers and in both parties are responsible for what shape this country is in today. Now, one's going to say, well, I inherited this and I inherited that, and they keep blaming the previous administrations. But you know something, folks? Nobody held a gun to my head to make me run for this. Nobody held a gun to the president's head to make him want to be president, and our leaders. We chose to do this, and we chose the responsibility. And what really makes me sick is when someone says, well, you know, I inherited this, and this mess was here before I got here. Look, we all know that. We touted ourselves as being the people that could come in and straighten this out. Now, it's very difficult very, very complex. And as Lincoln said, there is just no way we're going to please all the people all the time. It's just not going to happen. And to give you an example, I have people continually telling me, you have to cut. You have to cut whatever you can and cut to the bone. Well, as much as I would like to do that and we would like to do that, it's not feasible. It's not feasible. We do have to cut, we have to be methodical about it. But I said to someone, and they follow back and say, but you know something? Here's a program that's important to me, so do not cut this. And I said, I say to them, do you hear what you just said? Some of us have to bear the pain, but you do not want to. So in order for this to work, we all are going to feel the pain here. But we're not going to be able to eliminate this debt, even if we started today, and in a couple of years. It's going to take us 2 decades. If you think about this, in 2011 to 2012, this country, it was 2010 to 2011, this country brought in revenues $2.4 trillion, 2.2 or 2.4 trillion with a T. We spent $3.6 trillion. And we're spending well over $1 trillion each year. And each one of us, every one of us know that we cannot continue this. But what do? We keep telling people that we're going to give more. The government is going to give more. We're going to extend programs. We're going to create more programs. And knowing that the debt will be up to the next group of individuals to take care of. Well, that time has come and gone. And again, Republicans and Democrats, same thing. And you know why it's done? It's done to get elected. It's done to get re-elected. It's done to get power. And I got to be honest with you folks, and I've said this time and time again, I made a whole heck of a lot more money before I came here. And I'll make a whole heck of a lot more money when I leave here. But I have made a promise that while I'm here, I'm going to do whatever I can to help get the country on a financial basis. So I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this for my children, and I'm doing this for the future of what is still the most powerful country on earth and the most desirable place to live on earth. But we are well on our way to destroying this. We spend $1.4 billion with a B, and it's probably increased since I researched this. $1.4 billion a day just to pay the interest on the money we borrow. Just think if you and I had that money in our pockets, what we would do with it. Well, hopefully we would save, but we're going to spend. And when we spend, we create demand. And when we create demand, we create businesses. And businesses expand and hire people. Just think what we could do for education. Just think what we could do for health care. I oppose ObamaCare. There's no question about it. I oppose it. But there are parts of it that I support. What I do not like about ObamaCare is a group of Democrats decided they were going to run it. Republicans were not allowed to have input. People were not brought in to get advice on how to run this. And it's 2,400 pages that I have read twice. Twice. That still does not make sense. And yet, when Nancy Pelosi was asked, what's in it? Well, we don't know. We have to pass it to find out what's in it. Now, how many of you are going to run your household or do something and make a plan? It's like me saying to you, next year, folks, we're going to be living on the moon. So the next year rolls around and I say, I've selected all of you to live on the moon. We're going to go there. And I pile all you in a rocket and somebody says, what are we going to do when we get there? And then we're sitting back saying, don't worry about it. Just take the ride and we'll figure that out when we get there. It just doesn't make sense, ladies and gentlemen. And we're spending all kinds of money on advertising why this is so good. Now, there are parts of it that are good. But let me throw some figures out to you. When Obamacare was implemented, a handful of Democrats, and really the bureaucrats underneath them, wrote this. Now, if it's so good, why did the bureaucrats write the leadership in themselves out of Obamacare? The president, Speaker of the House Boehner, the leader of the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, Mitch McConnell, they're written out of it. And their staffs, because they are in leadership. I and my staff are not written out. So, if it's so good, why are now all the businesses getting, in the past, and now getting exemptions? And here's the thing that really sticks in my craw, and I'm a lawyer, prosecutor really. One of the major problems that we have with Obamacare, with our healthcare system, is frivolous lawsuits. Now, if a doctor makes a mistake, or a hospital makes a mistake, or a lawyer makes a mistake and hurts a person, that person has to be compensated for that loss. So I'm not against that at all. But you didn't see one word in Obamacare that addressed tort reform or frivolous litigation. And you know why? Because the trial lawyers gave him tens of millions of dollars in his election. Now this happens on the Republican side as well as the Democrat side and on other issues. It's wrong. And it should not happen. And what I would like, I have voted to repeal it. I have voted to not fund it. And I'm asking, let's start over again. Let's take the parts of Obamacare that we think are logical. For example, pre-existing conditions. No one should not have health care because they have a pre-existing condition. No one should not have health care because they cannot afford it. We as Americans have a responsibility to take care of those people who cannot take care of themselves or do not have the means. But this universal health care, look at Europe. I have friends in England. I travel around because I'm on foreign affairs. I have friends in Germany and in all over the world. And they're saying, stay away from government-funded health care. And look, just take a look at the people that are coming to the United States. Because they can't, even in Canada, they have friends that moved to my area from Canada said, we have to wait 6 months to 9 months before we can get in to see a heart specialist. We don't want that in this country. So my daughter has cystic fibrosis, a disease for which there's no cure. I don't want some bureaucrat in DC, a group of 15 or 16 presidentially appointed people, regardless what president appoints them, telling me whether my daughter's going to get treatment. And I want to choose my doctor. I want to choose my health plan. I don't want people sitting in Washington doing that. And I don't think you want it either. The next step we should go to is we should look at perhaps crossing state lines to purchase insurance to make it a little more competitive. We should certainly sit down and have people come to the table and discuss this. Doctors, nurses, hospital administrators, insurance, pharmaceuticals, lawyers, you. Because you and I can come up with an idea that we think it's the best plan since canned beer. But then, Tony, you're left out of it, and then we implement the program, and then you realize how much of a negative effect it has on you, and you say, look guys, you didn't think of me. So we have to put more thought into this. And I don't say totally eliminate it, I say let's step back, take pieces, and start putting this together. Because folks, when Obamacare was implemented, it was supposed to cover 60 million people. And I'm not making this up. Go right to the government website, go right to Health and Human Services, take the president's statements over the years. It's supposed to cover 60 million people at a cost of $900 billion and change over a 10-year period. Why the federal government predicts things over 10 years is beyond me. They can't tell me what the price of gas is going to be next month, but they're projecting over 10 years. And the latest reports out, it will cover maybe 18 to 22 million people at a cost of $1.6 to $2.2 trillion. Where are we going to get the money? And of course, well, we'll raise taxes. Raise taxes, I think everything should be on the table when it comes to the debt, everything. But, you can take all the money from the people that are making $250,000 a year and more, and it'll fund this country for about 8 months. So what we need to do is downsize Washington. It's way too big. There are agencies and departments that just are not doing what they were designed to do. Department of Education, started by Carter in '78. 400 people worked there. Their budget was a couple of tens of millions of dollars. Today, 5,000 people, billions of dollars, and we have more kids dropping out of school than ever before. And one of my degrees is in secondary education, so I'm very pro-education. And I don't mind paying a teacher $125,000 a year, as long as I know they're dedicated and they're going to teach my kid. Department of Energy, again, another good thought by Jimmy Carter, nice moral man. At that time, we were dependent, we got 25% of our oil from outside this country. Today, it's closer to 65%. What are we doing? If it does not work, shut it down and start over. But we just keep growing in leaps and bounds. I was making a statement that we have to downsize Washington, and I'm at least 50% as far as I'm concerned, but I know that will take years to do. But the way we do this, they said we're going to fire a bunch of people. No, I'm not going to fire a bunch of people. We do it through attrition, which will take years to do. And then one of the media people who wasn't thinking too smartly says, well, you're going to eliminate all those jobs, and then you're going to eliminate jobs, and people, the government, has jobs for people. Well, they aren't really productive jobs. They aren't producing a product of some type. And I said, if you take that money by downsizing the federal government and eliminating agencies that aren't efficient and effective, and you make people do more in federal government, because if they were in industry, if they were working in a factory, they'd be fired. And I've seen no one yet taken to a hospital from D.C. because they're in an ambulance because they're overworked. It just doesn't happen. And so, but that money is then put back in our pockets. Give it back to the taxpayer. What are we going to do with it? Again, we're going to save some, I hope, but we're going to spend it. And we're going to fix our house up and buy a refrigerator. And again, demand goes up and jobs will be created. Now, this is not brain surgery, but we keep promising people that the government's going to take care of you, us, and so we're a society at this point that believes the government should take care of us. And I just don't, this administration goes out and talks about how we're going to increase welfare, how we're going to increase unemployment. And I don't agree with what the Bush administration, I worked for the president, but I don't agree with the money that was spent. I don't believe in going into Iraq, and that's something for another day. But look at Medicare Part D that Bush started. You seniors love it. My mother loves it. Medicare Part D. As a matter of fact, it's operating 40% less expensive than it was anticipated. One of the best programs out there. But you know something, folks? We're borrowing money to implement this program. So I think there are many lofty ideas out there, but we cannot continue to borrow money to do this. We're going to have to live within our means just like you do. Government's going to have to live within its means. And again, I think this goes back, that's why I believe in term limits. That's why I believe that we should vote on one subject at a time in D.C. instead of packaging things together, so you understand what we are voting on, and so we understand what we are voting on. And also, we should prevent a leader from stopping a piece of legislation from going to the floor for a vote. If it makes it to a committee, it should go to the floor, the American people should see it, and then the American people can make the decision if they like the way that piece of legislation went, or if they like the legislation in and of itself. And if you don't, you vote the person out. But I'm very big supporter of term limits, 12 years. So I'm getting the high sign here. I don't know if I have time for questions. Maybe I can take one or two. Please be very brief if I haven't touched on the subject. And even if I haven't, please call me, check with my office, and we'll do that.
What is your best solution for the immigration problem? And thank you for saying that we shouldn't have gone into Iraq.
Okay. But I don't have, there's no silver bullet to this, but I think one of the places we cannot send 11 million people back. It's impossible. What we should do first, though, is secure our borders. Not only Mexico, but secure our borders. Many are coming in from Canada, many are coming in from Florida, so we need to secure our borders. Then once we've established that, yes, our borders are really secure, because I have ICE agents telling me that they're not allowed to make any arrests anymore of people that are here illegally. Now, what we do from that point is, I do a lot of work with children, I have foster children, I do the whole shoot match. There's no way that I'm going to make a child or a young person that's been in this country most or all of their life responsible for the sins of their father or their mother. We have children in this country who really, they have lived as Americans. We can't be sending these kids back. We have to come up with a program whereby we slowly indoctrinate people into the country by having strict requirements. You have to learn English. You have to prove to us that you're going to be productive in this society. You're going to have to prove that you want to be here and go to work and not live on welfare. And we don't want any criminals here. And it's going to be a long process. And that by no means is a remedy. I think that is a beginning at this point. Just think, if we were to simply say, okay, everybody here is here illegally, you're now an American citizen, and do nothing with the borders, we're going to get 20 more million people in. And one of the presidents that I look up to is Ronald Reagan, but I think he made a terrible mistake in the 80s by giving amnesty to 3 million back then in the 80s, 3 million illegals that were here. Now look, we're at 11 million. So I hope that is at least partial of an answer on how we get started on this. Anyone else? Sir?
Really quick, executive orders are a big problem that I see, and our EPA and DOE really want to get into state issues, particularly regulation of drilling, hydraulic fracturing. Like, is there any way to keep the bureaucracy from spreading its tentacles into our state business?
We are doing that in the House. We are deregulating as much as possible. I'm watching drilling very closely. Look, I live out in the country. I want a well. I don't want anybody messing with my water. And I keep a very close eye on it. Even this administration has come forward and said, the EPA has said that so far there's been no contamination due to drilling. The EPA, the Obama administration. And Pennsylvania has been pointed out by the EPA as being probably the leading state on its regulation and the way that the DEP goes about it, which is a good job. If there's damage, we need to shut that well down, shut that business down. They have to make those individuals whole again that they caused damage to. And actually the industry, I think, has been pretty good. There will be accidents, there will be mishaps. Hopefully they will not be to the extent that it hurts anyone. And then we learn from them. Look, we have car accidents every day. We have car crashes every day, but we still make cars and people still drive. And we have told the EPA that we will defund you, and we have defunded them. If you keep trying to get your arms around this. And this administration wants the EPA to have control of this because they want to tax it. And I don't want the federal government in it. The less federal government in my life and in your life, you're going to be better off. You know, you're pretty safe now. We're not going to violate your constitutional rights, and we're not going to raise your taxes because we're not in Washington. So you get my point about us not being in Washington. So I'd love to talk forever, but I see I'm getting a high sign here, so please call. I'd be glad to come back. And I just want to leave with this thought. We can do this. It's the greatest country in the world. We have the best talent in the world. We're the most compassionate people in the world. And we're the smartest people in the world. We can get this country back on the right track, and we can resolve these problems, but we all have to chip in and be part of it. God bless you, and call me if you have any questions.
Thank you, Tom. I don't know if we're encouraged or not. Sometimes a little depressing, so we got to change our attitude. It's get our attitude cranked back up for a nice sunny day out there. We thank you for attending. Keep in mind that your input is always welcome to the Economic Board. Each fourth Thursday at 10 o'clock. It is an open meeting. Questions to any one of the directors? We thank Tom and his staff, the Bible Conference for doing a nice job for us, and we will hope to see everyone next year. We're adjourned.